I'm here with the superintendent of Tucson International Academy, a former Tucson Unified School District educator, the author of the book Making College Come True, and I'll add in a mother to many. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the newest talk radio show host in the city of Tucson with the show Making College Come True radio show.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Yes, glad to be here.
And I know her as Dr. Jennifer Herrera. Sometimes I say Herrera, but in the school she's known as Dr. J because she self-admittedly doesn't roll the R's as well as she would like.
Yeah, you're
It's
you're
okay.
better at that than I am.
I don't blame you. It's all right. It's like it's a thing. It's a learned thing, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, or maybe you just have it. Maybe you just can, because I know people that have I took several Spanish classes with them and they just couldn't roll that R. The trick that my Spanish teacher told them was just say it like a D.
Oh, no, I like that. Herrera. Yeah, I like that.
Herrera. Yeah. So.
All right.
So we are here once again, and this week we have Dr. J's tip of the week about college. What do you have for us this week?
Yes. Well, I think it's important when you think about college that you know how degrees play out. Like, what do they do for you? And first of all, it's like there's different lengths of time involved in each degree. And so the regular or these are like in general our number of years each one takes. So you can start off going to college for any trade school. I mean, that is a type of higher education, and it is definitely powerful, and it definitely will get you a great paying job. And different programs, we would call those more programs, or like diploma more oriented, that you finish the work, so you are awarded verification that you finished that work. And so that can be 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, even 2 years. But it's usually under 2 years, and those are programs. The next level of higher education, or, another way to think of it, because I don't want to say levels and one is better than another. What is best is what your purpose in life is, what your calling is, what your mission is in life. So if you are called to a certain profession, it's going to take a certain number of years of preparation. So the trade schools, electrician, plumber, any of the technical areas that don't require a degree, they still have some training, and so that's a program. The second thing I will talk about is the 2-year degree. That is known as an associate's degree. An associate's degree is 2 years of college. It's generally more information at a deeper level in a few subjects, like you may take a psychology class, I believe, a science class that you maybe wouldn't have taken if you didn't go for a 2-year degree. You may take a business class that introduces you to how to start your own business and things like that. So that is involved in a 2-year degree. It's called an associate's degree. It's very powerful. You can get those in most community colleges. You can also get them at 4-year universities. The next level would be the bachelor's degree. A bachelor's degree is 4 years at a university. It's got certain credentials and things that are more technical that I don't really understand, but I know a 4-year degree opens a lot of doors. 2-year degree helps, but a 4-year degree opens doors. I don't know how else to say it other than just as it is. 4-year degree is necessary to be a teacher. 4-year degree is necessary to be a, let's see here, gosh, I don't know, all the different fields. There's, what was a 4-year degree being necessary for? I think any business,
Well, I want to
really.
think pretty much most management or most like middle level or upper level positions, you'll need at least a bachelor's degree to qualify.
Yeah, you're right. And it also puts you in line. Also production, manufacturing, anything that involves like more than one area. Like you got to have some finance information, you got to have some people skills, you also got to have some technical skills, and then you got to specialize in your marketing area. So any kind of business that needs more than kind of one area, that's going to be covered in a 4-year degree. All right, then you got the 6, 8, 10-year degree, which is known as the PhD. No, I'm sorry. No, we jumped. I'm sorry. 5 or 6 years is a master's degree. So you got your bachelor's degree, then you become a master in that subject. And as an educator, I can tell you how that plays out. How it helps you is you get your bachelor's degree and you get your feet wet in all the areas and issues of how to be a great instructor and teacher for the kids. And then you get your master's degree and you get better in some areas. So if you get your master's degree in reading, for example, you now can be a reading specialist, and also that's going to benefit any teaching position you have, even if it's science. You're going to teach them how to read better in science. And that's important because you have to know all those pre and post parts of the words, and they all have meaning, and it all flows together. So that master's degree makes you better at what you were already doing with your bachelor's. And master's degrees are even necessary for social workers. Social workers, they have to have a master's degree. And it seems odd because they don't get paid very much, but there's so much to learn and to know in helping society. So there you go. Still requires the 5-6 years. Then, is the PhD. The PhD is a forever degree. Feels like forever when you're getting it, because it did for me. Took me about 10 years because in the midst of it, I buried my father, buried my mother-in-law, and had my daughter. And so those life-changing events do slow down the progress on a PhD or on any degree, really. But in a PhD, there's so much technical work and so much focus that you also have the opportunity to plan it out, and you can ask for an extension, and that's what I did. And I got extensions, and I finally got it done. I got it done just in the right amount of time for my degree to be from University of Arizona, and for me to be published, and for me to contribute raw data and real findings and real research. And that's why people do the PhD. They really want to study something, understand it, tell stories about it, and then show what the indicators are for how to make that even better. And so that's why people go for PhD. PhD is very deep. It's a deeper knowledge. And there's also a fun way to say these. The bachelor's degree, they say, is BS. You can fill in the translation for that. The master's degree is more of the BS. So they say MS. You can get a master's of arts or a master of science. But master of science, MS, more of the S. And then there's the PhD, and it's just piled higher and deeper. That's what they say. So in a way, even though it's kind of funny, it is somewhat true because you are really going deep. They say higher education is about drilling down, drilling deep, getting to the bottom of things. And so today, that's what we're going to talk to. We're going to talk to someone who just finished her bachelor's, and we're going to talk to someone who is just finishing her PhD. So we got both ends of the spectrum, and I can't wait to talk to them.
Awesome. Yeah, we got all that and more after this break. Certainly you guys sit right there. We got some really cool stuff. We got Candice Waller, our future Dr. Candice Waller with T.R.U.E Counseling here on the show to tell us all about her journey and what she did to get where she's going and what T.R.U.E Counseling does in helping couples. And then we also have Rubina Herrera here in studio with us to talk about what it's like to be an educator in her journey and going through school herself. I'm here with the superintendent of that very academy. Her name is Dr. Jennifer Herrera. Say it like a D if you can't roll your R's. Also known as Dr. J.
I love it. That sounds great.
And yeah, and before the break, we had an awesome, this week we'll call it Dr. J's Tip of the Week, where she kind of broke down the different levels of higher education. And that was awesome because I really never heard it broken down like that before. So I'm glad we have that.
Yeah, me too.
And I'm glad for our guest that we have in studio today who's worked her way up those stepping stairs to the highest pile, I guess, according to your analogy. And we have Candice Waller in studio with us, future Dr. Candice Waller with T.R.U.E Counseling.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.
Yes, absolutely. So you've actually, for those who don't listen to the show regularly, we've actually had Candice Waller on the show before. She was here and I was interviewing her what one of the times you were away, Dr. J.
Awesome.
Yeah. But
I love it.
But it'll be cool today. First, let's remind us of what T.R.U.E Counseling is, and then let's delve into how you got there.
Okay, well, T.R.U.E Counseling is a counseling practice that focuses on all types of romantic couples. And these are just couples. You don't have to be married or not. You can. It's just who want to kind of start understanding their lives as a relationship better. If they're having difficulties, coming in to kind of solve those difficulties. If they just want to talk about premarital things, they can talk about those things. Really, we just kind of cultivate healthy relationships so that it can improve the overall family structure of the community.
Yeah, and
That's nice.
And those that were listening earlier, you heard on the Common Good, we kind of went into kind of your different ideologies, different tips and stuff. But and the question I asked you there was like, for one, most people are against the idea of getting therapy even for themselves, nonetheless for couples. So I'm sure there's a lot of kind of scrutinizing and, you know, in somebody even being a client for you. So what are some of like the credentials, some of the kind of the things that you've put in your toolbox to disarm them?
As far as my credentials or the
Yeah,
toolbox?
as far as your credentials.
Oh, okay. So my credentials is I have a bachelor's from Fisk University in Nashville, Tennessee. I have a master's of science, since Dr. J talked about master's of science.
Yes.
So more S.
More S, yeah. Because there's a difference between masters of A and masters of S. So there's a difference between us. So I have a master's in science from David Lipscomb in professional counseling.
Nice.
And then my current status is also a full-time student at T.R.U.E University. I'm working on my PhD in clinical counseling, teaching, and supervision.
Ooh, I love it. Yeah, that's amazing. So all of the degrees, what role do you think they played? Like, think back to your bachelor's. Did that give you your foundation, or what did it do for you?
Yeah, so my foundation, I definitely would say would be my bachelor's. We definitely took like a lot of intro to psychology classes, abnormal psychology classes, behavioral psychology classes, developmental psychology classes. So a lot of that stuff, you just kind of got the basics of Psych 101 of like just the difference between like the mind or like the brain part, or abnormal. We kind of got a little bit into like diagnosing the different personality types. And then with developmental, we talked about the developmental stages of the human child, of just the adults and relationships and just life in general. So you're introduced to like Pavlov's law, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, Pavlov's experiment with dogs. You always get those like mixed up. You learn about Erik Erikson, you learn about Freud, you learn about Alfred Adler and birth order. So you kind of touch on them in your bachelor's program, but when you get to your master's, you kind of understand how to use them. So that's kind of where the bachelor's kind of just general studies kind of comes into play.
Knowledge, and it kind of opens you up to, oh, okay, there's a lot that I can do with counseling, but what do I feel most drawn to? So how and when did you know you were more drawn to like couples counseling?
Probably my whole life. Just when I was younger, my mom always thought I should be a counselor, and then people always came to me like to help solve their problems, and I'm like, go away, you know. I kind of shied away from it. And then when I was in college, I was a RA, and so for those who don't know what that is, it's a resident assistant. So you apply, you get chosen, and then you're over a whole wing of a building, or whole hall as they're called. And a lot of my girls or ladies at the time, they had like a lot of relationship problems. So they would always come and knock on my door because I had a 24-hour open door policy. And as a result, we would have to, once a month, we would each RA would be responsible for a kind of a program to put on for the building. And so one of my programs was 101 ways of building intimacy without having sex, because I had a lot of girls who were struggling with being pressured to have sex from their boyfriends in college, you know. And so that particular program won an award. And so I had to go to a conference out like far away. And so we went and we did the program, and like people voted on it, and I didn't win the overall vote, but it was definitely good enough to get promoted to
that.
the
and
that's
so
huge. As a result of that, I ended up winning RA of the year, and like all the different kind of accolades that kind of come with that. So that's kind of what helped me figure out that I like couples, because a lot of my girls were just struggling with relationships and trying to find their way and what to do. So
and we know, being older now, healthy relationships make life a lot more enjoyable. And we can learn from the beginning. Wow, what a service you did to those that got to be a part of your program. That's a great age to learn all that too. So wow, I love it. So you were able to be successful early with that, led you towards the couples, and then the practicing part of masters. Did they have you do like an internship or some?
So I did an internship towards the end, and so we have to do a practicum. It's like a year and a half long. And so I did my first part of my internship at a jail.
Oh, wow.
I know. It was so interesting, to say the least. And what was more interesting is on certain days, the partners of the inmates would come in. And so they would have like their kids there and take pictures. So it was really interesting just to kind of see the dynamics of how the children are kind of socialized into like taking a family photo with their dad in jail.
Yeah.
And so that part was always interesting to me. And then a lot of the guys that I worked with and women that I work with, their backstories were really interesting. And one family that always stood out to me is that I had a father in the men's jail and I had a daughter in the women's jail that I was working with at the same time.
Wow.
And they did not know, but I knew. So they would mail each other letters, and in the counseling session I would have to kind of set that boundary of I didn't know the other one. So he would show me pictures that he would draw, and then in the session 2 days later she's like, I got a picture from my dad. And I was just like, oh my gosh, you know. So just thinking about the families. And then after that I did another practicum at Family Children Services, where I would have to go into family homes and kind of help reestablish the hierarchy of parenting. So
yeah, there's a job. And it changes too, right? I mean, I would guess, how many years ago was it that you did your master's?
Oh my gosh. I graduated in 2012.
Wow.
It'll be almost 10 years.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I didn't even think about it until right now.
Well, it goes fast, let me tell you. I mean, it is kind of scary. But that's cool because even 10 years ago, things have really probably switched around a bit, or there's a different way of looking at the family structure. Probably over time it changes constantly. So understandable. I mean, nothing good or bad about that. Just is. That's great.
Well, thank you so much, Miss Candice Waller, future Dr. Candice Waller, for coming on the Making College Come True radio show, brought to you by Tucson International Academy.
And congrats on your PhD.
Thank
I can't wait to hear.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
When it's done, it's a big celebration.
Dr. Jennifer Herrera, the superintendent of Tucson International Academy. If you have a child between the ages of kindergarten through 12th grade and you want them to go to college, Tucson International Academy is the way to make the college come true in their life.
Yes, sirree. That's our specialty.
Yeah, so go to TucsonInternationalAcademy.com to sign your student up today.
Yep. And you know what? This is what I encourage people, why you should check us out, is because going to college really helps you have a like more of a selection for what you will do to support yourself and your family for the rest of your life. If you just go into a job, it's very hard to start and stop jobs over and over and over again to find the right place. So in university life, you get little internships, little practicums, little opportunities to get a little picture of what is possible, like what kinds of different scenarios. I mean, everything from what Candice, Miss Future Dr. Candice says, like she started within the jails. But you never know, you would never maybe go seek that out. But since that's the practicum you were given, you had that experience, and now you have a different level of relating to people going through that in their life. And we all know someone who's either been to jail, in jail currently, or has a relative and that we know, and how that just really impacts lives. And so having a more compassionate heart about that and understanding of the different ins and outs is a powerful thing. And so it's the same with, getting a bachelor's. That's why I tell the kids at school, get a bachelor's degree. You will have it's general enough, yet specific enough, and you can have a better choice for your future. So with us, we have a recent graduate, Rubina Herrera. She did graduate from Tucson International Academy, and she is a teacher.
You just said her last name so perfect.
I can say other people's name, not mine.
Okay, fair enough.
Yes. So tell us, when you went to high school at our school, you had more than me telling you should go to college. What role do you think your high school teachers played and your principals in getting you to, again, take that next step to apply to colleges?
They just talked about college a lot
Mm.
to us.
Mm-hmm.
They would just tell us stories about their college days. So I think that's what really got to us was the
Mhm.
stories. One of our high school teachers, he would always tell stories about him and his family life, and then he'd just talk about college. So he
Mhm.
really sparked a big interest in most of our, to most of us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
imagination.
Really
You kind of,
cool.
I'm guessing you probably in a lot of ways even saw yourself in those stories. Like you're just either a person sitting in the corner at the party or at that
Right.
in that class, or you saw
Definitely.
you having those experiences yourself.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
That's right.
Yeah.
And when you know somebody who's sharing that part of their life, it's a much easier connection for you.
Mm.
Right.
I love
definitely.
that. Yeah. So if you think of one of their stories that they shared, you can tell us but meanwhile, I'm going to go on and I'm going to say, tell us one of your stories about college. You also were telling me recently that the reason you feel so confident in telling your students who are in 5th and 6th grade that they should consider college is because of the people they meet. So tell me a little more about that.
So I always, of course, I tell my students, go to college not only just for studies, but just to meet people,
Mhm.
because you never know who you're going to meet. Because usually in high school, you're always with people who are just like, maybe I'll go to college. Maybe I won't.
Mhm.
Maybe I'll get a job. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
So, and in college, you're with students who are either paying their way or having a little bit of help. And then they have that little spark that will help them to keep going in college.
Mhm.
And so I really want my students to see there's other people out there that actually want to get stuff done. They actually want to be successful. Even though those who don't go to college, they can be successful, of course.
Mhm.
But just like Dr. J said, it's a lot easier. There's more doors that open if you go to college.
Mhm.
And so I always tell my students that it's just super important for people, education-wise, just because you never know who you will meet. You never know if they'll get popular or famous later on,
Yeah.
or then
Yeah.
maybe they can help you out
Mhm.
future, or just getting that inspiration from someone too that's really driven to be successful.
While you're going through college, did you ever have like a moment or a situation where it was just like an aha, like this is why I went to college. Oh, okay, this makes sense. Like, did you ever have a moment like that?
Yes, I did actually. It was mainly not just for education, of course, but it was when I was at an event, at a basketball game or at
Mm.
Midnight Madness that GCU
Mm.
has.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm like, I'm so glad I'm here.
Yeah.
This is why I came here, was to
Uh-huh.
experience this.
Mm.
'Cause
Yeah.
Mm.
Not some high schools that are bigger, they might have some sort of experience like that, but in
Mhm.
college it's just a lot bigger. There's more people. You see
Mm.
everyone celebrating and having fun, and it makes
Mhm.
you want to do that too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that
and
really.
that's like the privileged part of being a part of a university and of living on campus. When you live on campus, you get to have those experiences. You even get to be an RA, a resident assistant. You even get to be on a dance team or on a different club or to try out sports or to experience Midnight Madness. I mean, we went with you many a time, and it's just midnight and it's like a big pep rally. It's so late,
Mm.
but you don't feel tired because there's so much energy in the room. And they come out and they do routines and they do basketball skill drills that look really awesome. And
Huh.
they bring out, a lot of school spirit.
Mm.
And then they have the lights going off in the stadium. And then when you're walking back to the dorms afterwards, you walk through foam and through, I don't know, all kinds of things that they make it be a little weird, but a little fun. And
Nice.
I mean, I have never walked through foam ever before or ever since that night.
Huh.
So it's just an experience, right? Where else are you
Yeah.
going to get that? College.
Uh-huh.
You were saying, we have like 1 minute. Well, tell me briefly about your roommate. She had a tough experience.
Oh yes, I had a roommate for a while there for a semester or two. She had cancer,
Mm.
and she had it for about 6 years, I want to say. Or no, actually no. she's been without cancer for 6 years now.
Okay.
Maybe a little more now.
Nice.
But she just really inspired me to keep going, because even though she had a long distance relationship,
Mm-hmm.
and she was a nurse, so she was in school for nursing, so she has a lot on her plate.
Mm-hmm.
And so just seeing her at her desk every night working, getting her work done, then she's able to go out and have fun
Mm-hmm.
because she did her work then. It just was nice and inspiring to see that happen. And
Mm-hmm.
then even when she had maybe a little bit of cancer left, but it was just so nice to see someone being so inspired to get this done.
That's amazing. Such a
Through
beautiful
every
story.
obstacle. Yeah, that's what you get to see. You get to see people do it.
Well, brought to you by Tucson International Academy. Yeah, that's the academy here locally in 4 different locations that is making college come true for children in the Pima County community for almost 20 years now.
Mm-hmm.
You guys must be pretty good at it. I'm
Finishing our
wondering-
19th year, going
Yeah.
on 20. That's right.
Yeah.
We're very excited about it, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's certainly everything I learn about this amazing academy. I am more and more impressed, and we have one of the products of that academy here in studio with us today to talk about what Tucson International Academy was able to do in her life, and what she's done with it, and kind of the stories that she's created along the way. And that being said, I'll have the Dr. J herself take it away.
All right. Well, as I was saying, I think it's really neat that you had opportunity to consider different careers. Of course, at college, too, you got exposed to more career opportunities. But at what point did you know that you're interested in kids?
So before I even went to college, I still helped around the classroom. If a teacher needed help, or if I'm just out of school and a teacher just needs my help with something, I just help them out.
Mm-hmm.
Even just like tutoring students. I used to tutor for a little bit here and there.
Mm.
And that's really what sparked my interest in becoming a teacher. I just love working with kids. They're fun. They're easygoing for the most part. And they definitely introduce some things that you yourself don't even know about. That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they have their unique little warehouses of knowledge that is interesting. And we know that they're going to use that, and we want them to help them to use that in a positive way that'll benefit all of society. So
Yes, definitely.
that's neat. I remember at Tucson International Academy, we do a career survey. Do you remember what your career survey said?
Yes.
What did yours say over and over again every year?
Really wanted to be a firefighter. So I got firefighter quite often.
Okay.
Or a doctor or something like that.
Uh-huh.
I remember the repeat the last 3 years was high school principal. Remember that? And you'd be like, what?
Wow. I don't remember. It's been a while.
Yes.
So the firefighter, doctor, high school principal. Yeah, it makes sense to me.
Yeah,
Perfect. Yeah, why not?
I think firefighter and principal go together because being a principal, you are putting out a lot of fires all day
For sure.
long. And in high school, it's just a little bit different animal. It's a little more, I don't know, intense because their depth of perception is a little deeper. And so your reasoning better be solid, or they're going to find a loophole in it and not going to follow your train of thought. But I thought that was funny. All those years, people would say, yep, high school principal. They thought it fit you.
What is that? What about, in hearing that, what do you think? Do you think that would be a fitting role for you to be a high school principal?
Oh, yeah. Definitely. I thought about becoming a principal.
Interesting.
I'm still on the rocks about it, but we'll see what the future holds.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's another thing. It's like we were talking a little bit about, like, having the responsibility of someone's learning is rather big. And, then when they, reduce it down to a test score that happens once a year, that is really frustrating. And, but it is a reality. If you're going to be in a public school system, guess what? You're going to be responsible for that test score. And so you learn to work around it and with it, but you have to be careful not to put all your eggs in that one basket, because there's so much more to learning and academics than that test score.
Yeah, and I think like the point that we were talking about it during the break, like why I think it would be hard for me to be a teacher is because, like, I love kids. I love having fun with kids. Like, particularly, I got 3 teenage boys. Like, we could play all day and I don't get tired. But I don't I would have a hard time breaking that barrier of just wanting to have fun and be like, okay, fun's over, guys, time to learn, which I'm guessing as a teacher, it gives you the tools you need to kind of bring those two things together. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
super cool whenever I meet an educator and, kind of learn how you guys tick, because you must have the coolest job. You get to hang out with kids all the time. Like that sounds cool. Like kids are awesome. I love, not only do I love my kids, I love my nieces and nephews. I love, kids when I'm around them.
Yeah.
Like kind of Rubina describes them, like they teach you something. There's just this kind of like this wonderfulness about them that us adults lose for some reason.
Definitely.
Definitely.
They're seeing the world with new eyes, and we get to relive it from a better perspective through those kids. It's really a lot of fun. And I think too, like when the really good teachers, like the ones that are the best, learn how to make learning fun. So you were onto something when you said, I just want to have fun with them, but then to say, okay, back to learning. The trick is to not have to do that. Just segue right into okay, ready for quiz time? All right, get in your teams. When I say count to 5, break. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, break. And you've taught them what that means. They go to their group, and then you start the game immediately. It's that downtime that makes teaching so boring, because kids are not, today with the internet and with, our attention span change, it's less than 7 minutes now. So every 3, 4, 5 minutes, you need to have another redirect to keep it interesting and lively. And if you are a master teacher, you'll learn to do that. And you could just keep it going. And they should be the ones tired at the end of the day, not you. And when a teacher gets to that point where they're kind of like, oh, it's a great day, and they see the kids and they're like, oh, I'm so tired. We did so much work today. I know I've got a winner teacher, because that's the way it should be. If you're doing your job right and you're using all your skills and you are pulling it together in your classroom, that's what makes learning good. And colleges tend to just do lecture, but that's why we all like practicums, right? That's where you got to see some things. That's where you got to see some things. That's where we all get to see some things, is when we're implementing what we're learning. So that's another key thing. So what has led you to think maybe you would like to get a master's and or a PhD? We were curious.
So, what led me to a master's and possibly a PhD is while I was studying to be a teacher, we also took some psychology courses. So that sparked an interest of school counseling for me. So I wouldn't mind going into for a master's just for that. Possibly another thing, maybe. But just from working with the students personally, and then they just ask me like, oh, what do you think about this, or what should I do in this case scenario, and I let them know like, oh, I think maybe you should try this, and they seem to take it really well. So that's what really sparked my interest in going to a master's. Also just for myself, just so I can learn more into it, just because sometimes you learn something but you might forget a little bit here and there of what you learned. So going back into school will help me just keep that knowledge up.
Yeah, and there's always new techniques. And then, as we know, generations change. The way kids learn changes. And so we're going back to more collaborative learning. We're going to more of interaction. There's a different way of interacting with, all the social media and everything we do on our phones. There's a different way of interacting, and we have to learn to include that somehow into the learning in school to make it even more valuable and more, what do they call that? Not tentative, but something that's more applicable, like something they can relate to. So you're taking a source that's of familiarity, and you're coupling it with information that may not be so familiar, but when you put the two together, you have a winner. You have a curriculum that's going to be fun. And so for me, it's just never ending, because it does change. About every 5 years, seems like there's a major shift in pedagogy, which is how you teach. So I'm so excited to see this year we are definitely making a switch back to more collaborative learning. And so what do you think? You did learn a little bit about centers and about collaborative learning when you did your student teaching. So anything you would say for a closing idea?
For those who are in college now, I want to speak with you guys just to say, keep up the good work, keep trying. I know it's hard, but in the end, it's going to be worth it. The years are going to fly by. Trust me. I didn't even know how fast it would go. Just try to get as much support as possible. Surround yourself with good people that will support you no matter what. Someone that will tell you good words of acknowledgement. And just keep doing your best. Don't give up, even when you want to. Just don't give up. Get that extra tutoring if you have to.
It's an interesting thought that I said to my son that's in studio with us here, Tristan. He's 14 earlier, and I was like, I repeated it just because it's like it resonated in my head when I said it, and I told him the only time, particularly you're 14 now, the only time you'll ever fail at anything in your whole entire time is if you quit.
That's the truth. Yeah.
Yeah. And then like I said, I had to say it 2 times just because it's a fact. It's a fact about anything. And I told him, and as a secondary to that, what's just as important, what you choose to do, because just know if you choose to do the wrong thing, you'll do it.
Yeah.
Because the only way that you'll fail at doing it even is if you quit.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
yeah, I'm hoping that those little words ring bells in their ears as well. Maybe it's just me, but yeah, it's very true.
No.
Definitely.
It's a race of perseverance, and I think much of life is that. And you just have to know yourself. I think that's where psychology does come in handy. Get to know yourself. If you haven't taken a personality test, take one so you can see the difference. Then you won't be so judgmental of others, and you also won't judge yourself. Believe it or not, we beat ourselves up too much. We need to acknowledge who we are, understand if you're ADHD, understand it, and learn how to cope with it, and also learn how not to drive everyone else crazy with it. And don't expect them to do 9 projects just because you can. They can maybe do 5.
I try, Dr. J. I try.
You know,
it's just
come
so
on.
hard. But yeah,
Crackle it.
I'm learning.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it's just like that is huge, and that you learn in college as well. And anyone, even if you're not in college, goodness, get a personality test of some sort. Do it, study it, learn about yourself, and engage with people. Just by engaging with different people in life at college, you meet a lot of interesting people. Just like Rubina said, she met people from all over the world, all different backgrounds. Someone with cancer, someone with a long distance relationship, someone who was a good in sports, someone who really wasn't. She did a dance club. Goodness. So there's so much you can learn, so many different venues, and I say go to college, everybody. Let's make college come true.
Yeah.
Do it.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, thank you, Rubina, for being with us once again.
Yes. And
Thank
thank you,
you.
Candice.
Yeah, thank you, Candice,
Yeah.
for being here. Yeah.
You guys were great.
Yeah, say easily to say 2 of my favorite guests on the Making College
Yes.
Come True radio show, brought to you by Tucson International Academy.